She called into earnings live. The billionaire CEO heard child support before guidance, then the line went dead. The conference line crackled with static. Hundreds of analysts sat ready with their keyboards. Investors leaned forward in their chairs. The quarterly earnings call for Vaughn Industries was about to begin. The operator's voice was professional. Neutral. Our next question comes from an unaffiliated caller. Please state your name and affiliation. There was a pause. A breath. Then a young woman's voice came through. Calm. Clear. Unflinching. Hello. This is not a question. It's a clarification. In the executive conference room, Alaric Vaughn straightened slightly. His CFO glanced at him. His chief counsel frowned. The voice continued. My name is Alaric Hale. I'm 18 years old. And I'm calling to clarify something that should have been disclosed years ago. Alaric's hand tightened on his pen. For the record, Alaric Vaughn is my biological father. He has provided no financial support. No presence. No acknowledgement. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for truth. The room went completely still. Child support is not just a legal obligation. It's a moral one. And this company's CEO has spent 18 years pretending I don't exist. Someone in the room gasped. Then the line went dead. The dial tone hummed through the speakers. No one moved. No one spoke. Alaric sat frozen. His carefully prepared guidance notes lay useless in front of him. The operator's voice returned, uncertain now. We appear to have lost that caller. Mr. Vaughn, would you like to respond? Alaric opened his mouth. No sound came out. His chief counsel leaned forward, muted the line, and whispered urgently. Say nothing. We end the call now. But it was already too late. The silence had spoken louder than any denial ever could. Have you ever heard the truth spoken in a place designed to hide it? Have you ever watched power freeze because it had no script for honesty? This is the story of a billionaire CEO who controlled every narrative except the one that mattered most. A daughter who understood that timing is everything. And a mother who taught her child that silence can be chosen, but it should never be inherited. Stay until the end to hear what Alaric said when he finally met the daughter he had spent 18 years avoiding. And to understand why some truths don't need courtrooms. They just need one unfiltered moment. If you believe that accountability cannot be scheduled or managed, hit that like button right now. And subscribe to Mr. Ellington Love Lines, where every story proves that the most powerful confrontations are often the quietest ones. Let me take you back. Not to the call. Not yet. Let me show you how a man built an empire on control. And how one voice dismantled it in less than 60 seconds. The CEO who mastered the script. Alaric Vaughn did not become a billionaire by accident. He became one by design. By discipline. By understanding that markets rewarded certainty, not authenticity. Every earnings call was choreographed. Every press release vetted by 3 departments. Every public appearance calculated to project strength, vision, stability. Alaric sat in his corner office on the 48th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A desk made of reclaimed wood and steel. Everything in the room communicated one thing. Control. His chief of staff, Leo Len, entered carrying a tablet. We're set for the earnings call in 20 minutes. Guidance is strong. Analysts are expecting a beat. Good. Any unexpected questions flagged? Nothing unusual. Standard inquiries about expansion and margins. Alaric nodded. Let's keep it tight. 30 minutes. No detours. Leo left. Alaric reviewed his notes one last time. Revenue up 12%. Operating margin expansion. Strategic acquisitions on track. The numbers told a story. The story told the market what to think. And the market responded predictably. This was the system Alaric had perfected over 15 years. Predictability. Consistency. No surprises. He had built Vaughn Industries from a small logistics startup into a global supply chain giant. 40,000 employees. Operations in 60 countries. A market cap that had crossed 50 billion. He was profiled in business magazines. Invited to economic summits. Quoted by analysts as a model of disciplined growth. But there was one part of his life that did not fit the narrative. One chapter he had simply edited out. Her name was Seren Hale. And 18 years ago, he had made a choice that he convinced himself was temporary. He had walked away. Before the fortune. A love without witnesses. Alaric met Seren Hale before his company had a logo. Before he had a CFO or a board or investors breathing down his neck. He was 28. Running operations out of a converted warehouse. Working 18-hour days. Sleeping on a couch in the back office. Seren worked at a non-profit 2 blocks away. She coordinated disaster relief logistics. She was brilliant at systems. At seeing inefficiencies and solving them without fanfare. They met at a coffee shop. Both reaching for the last blueberry muffin. She had smiled. You take it. I'm trying to cut back anyway. Alaric had smiled back. We could split it. They did. And then they talked for an hour. About supply chains and impossible timelines and the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. He found her again the next day. And the day after that. Within a month, they were inseparable. Seren was different from anyone Alaric had ever known. She did not care about his ambitions. She cared about whether he was kind. Whether he listened. Whether he showed up. Their relationship existed in the margins. Early breakfasts before work. Late dinners after long days. Weekends spent hiking or reading or simply sitting in comfortable silence. Alaric loved her. Quietly. Deeply. In a way that felt like home. But as Vaughn Industries began to grow, the margins got smaller. Investor meetings. Product launches. Hiring surges. Seren understood. She was patient. She did not demand more time than he could give. But she noticed when he stopped asking about her day. When he stopped making plans more than a week out. When the future they had once talked about became something he avoided. One evening, after Alaric had cancelled dinner for the 3rd time that week, Seren asked him a question. Do you still want this? Alaric looked up from his laptop. Want what? Us. He closed the laptop. Walked over to her. Took her hands. Of course I do. Then why does it feel like I'm disappearing? You're not. I'm just busy. This is a critical phase. Once we close this funding round, things will settle. Seren searched his face. Will they? Alaric did not answer immediately. Because he did not know. Seren nodded slowly. Okay. But it was not okay. And they both knew it. 3 months later, Seren told him she was pregnant. Ambition quietly changed the tone. They were sitting in Alaric's apartment. A small 1-bedroom he barely lived in anymore. Seren had made dinner. Pasta. Salad. Simple. Alaric had been talking about the funding round. About term sheets and valuations and board composition. Then Seren set down her fork. Alaric, I need to tell you something. He looked up. Okay. I'm pregnant. The words landed like a stone in still water. Ripples spreading outward. Silence filling the space. Alaric set down his own fork. Are you sure? I took 3 tests. Yes. How far along? About 8 weeks. Alaric leaned back. Ran his hands through his hair. Okay. Okay. We'll figure this out. Seren's voice was steady. What does that mean? It means we'll handle it. Together. Alaric, I'm not asking you to fix this. I'm telling you it's happening. I know. I need some time to think. Time to think about what? About how this fits. About timing. About what makes sense. Seren's expression shifted. Something hardened in her eyes. This is not a business problem, Alaric. This is our child. I know that. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying I need to process. Seren stood. Take your time. She left. Alaric sat alone in the apartment. Staring at the wall. He told himself he would call her the next day. Talk it through. Make a plan. But the next day, the term sheet came through. Investors wanted to move fast. Due diligence. Negotiations. Legal reviews. Alaric convinced himself he would circle back to Seren after the close. After things settled. The close took 6 weeks. By then, Seren had stopped calling. The pregnancy and the deferred answer. Alaric finally reached out 2 months later. A text message. Can we talk? Seren replied 3 hours later. About what? About everything. About us. About the baby. There's nothing to talk about. I'm keeping the baby. You don't need to be involved if you don't want to be. Alaric called her. She answered on the 4th ring. Seren, I'm sorry. I know I disappeared. But I want to be part of this. Seren's voice was calm. Too calm. Do you? Or do you just feel obligated? Both. But that doesn't mean it's not real. Alaric, I'm 4 months pregnant. You've been gone for 2 of them. You don't get to show up now because it's convenient. It's not about convenience. I was overwhelmed. I made a mistake. You made a choice. He had no response to that. Because she was right. Seren continued. I'm not going to beg you to be a father. Either you want to be here, or you don't. But I need to know now. Because I'm building a life. And I can't build it around someone who might disappear again. Alaric wanted to say yes. To promise he would be there. To commit. But he was standing in his new office. Looking at org charts and growth projections and investor decks. And the truth was, he did not know how to be both. The CEO and the father. The builder and the partner. So he said the worst thing he could have said. Can we talk about this after the quarter closes? Seren was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke. Her voice steady but final. Goodbye, Alaric. She hung up. He told himself he would call her back. Explain. Clarify. But days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And by the time Alaric's company went public, Seren had given birth to a daughter. Alone. The disappearance that looked like focus. Alaric threw himself into work. He told himself it was necessary. That he was building something that would provide security. Opportunity. Legacy. But the truth was simpler. Work was easier than fatherhood. Success was measurable. Presence was not. He checked Seren's social media once. Saw a photo of her holding a newborn. The caption said, "Welcome to the world, Lyric." He stared at the photo for a long time. Then closed the app. Did not comment. Did not reach out. He convinced himself that Seren was better off without him. That a child deserved a stable parent, not a distracted one. That silence was kinder than inconsistency. It was a lie. But it was a lie that let him sleep at night. Years passed. Vaughn Industries grew. Alaric's wealth grew. His reputation grew. But the question he had avoided did not disappear. It just waited. And 18 years later, it would find him in the one place he could not control. A live earnings call. The woman who refused to chase power. Seren Hale did not cry when Alaric stopped calling. She had already known he would. She gave birth to Lyric on a Tuesday morning in April. Her mother was there. Her best friend, Camila, was there. But no father. No partner. The nurse asked if she wanted to list a father on the birth certificate. Seren hesitated. Then wrote Alaric's name. Not because she wanted anything from him. But because Lyric deserved the truth. She brought Lyric home to a small apartment. 2 bedrooms. A kitchen that barely fit a table. But it was clean. Safe. Filled with light. Seren returned to work after 3 months. Camila helped with childcare. Seren's mother came on weekends. It was hard. Exhausting. Lonely. But Seren did not regret her choice. She did not regret keeping Lyric. And she did not regret refusing to chase Alaric. Because she had learned something important. You cannot force someone to care. You can only control how you respond to their absence. So she built a life. A good life. She read to Lyric every night. Sang her to sleep. Taught her to be curious and kind and unafraid of questions. When Lyric was 3, Seren started her own consulting business. Disaster logistics. She worked with nonprofits and NGOs. Helped them move resources efficiently in crisis zones. The work was meaningful. The pay was modest but steady. Lyric grew up watching her mother work. Watching her solve problems. Watching her show up even when it was hard. And she learned that strength is not loud. It is consistent. Lyric. Growing up inside the gap. Lyric was 7 when she first asked about her father. They were sitting at the kitchen table. Seren was helping her with homework. Lyric had stopped writing and was staring at the page. "Mom, why don't I have a dad?" Seren set down her pen. She had prepared for this question. But preparation did not make it easier. "You do have a dad, sweetheart. He just doesn't live with us." "Where is he?" "He lives in the city. He runs a company." "Does he know about me?" Seren's throat tightened. "Yes. He knows. Why doesn't he visit?" Seren chose her words carefully. "Because he made a choice. A long time ago. To focus on his work instead of being a father." "Did I do something wrong?" Seren pulled Lyric into her lap. "No. You did nothing wrong. His choice has nothing to do with you. It's about him." Lyric was quiet for a moment. "Do you think he'll ever want to meet me?" Seren's voice was gentle but honest. "I don't know, baby. Maybe. But we can't wait for him. We have to keep living our life." Lyric nodded. She did not ask again for a long time. But as she got older, the questions returned. Different. Sharper. When Lyric was 12, she Googled her father's name. Found articles. Photos. Interviews. She read about his success. His wealth. His carefully managed image. And she felt something she had not felt before. Not anger. But clarity. He had chosen this life. Deliberately. Publicly. And he had chosen to erase her from it. She did not tell her mother what she had found. But she started paying attention. To earnings calls. To press releases. To the way powerful people controlled narratives. And she began to understand something. If she wanted to be seen, she would have to speak in a place where he could not edit her out. The question that could not be avoided. When Lyric turned 16, she asked her mother a different kind of question. They were sitting on the couch. Watching a movie. Seren had just made popcorn. Lyric muted the TV. "Mom, do you ever regret not going after him for child support?" Seren looked at her daughter. Saw the intelligence in her eyes. The quiet strength. "No. I don't." "Why not?" "Because I didn't want your relationship with him to start with a court order. I wanted him to choose you. And he didn't. But we could have used the money. We survived without it." Lyric nodded slowly. "What if I want to reach out to him?" Seren's chest tightened. But her voice stayed calm. "That's your choice. You're old enough to decide. Would you be okay with it?" Seren took Lyric's hand. "I'd support you. No matter what you choose." Lyric was quiet for a long moment. "I don't want his money, Mom. I just want him to acknowledge that I exist. Then tell him that." "How?" "However you need to." Lyric thought about that. 4 months. 4 years. And when she turned 18, she found her answer. Why the earnings call was the only door. Lyric understood power. She had studied it. Watched it. Analyzed how people like her father maintained control. She knew that private messages would be ignored. That letters would be intercepted by assistants. That legal filings would be buried under motions and delays. But an earnings call was different. It was live. Unedited. Public. Hundreds of people listening in real time. Her father could not mute her. Could not spin her. Could not make her disappear. She researched how to join the call. Found the dial-in number. The access code. She rehearsed what she would say. Not angry. Not accusatory. Just clear. The night before the call, she told her mother what she planned to do. Seren listened. Did not interrupt. When Lyric finished, Seren asked one question. "Are you sure?" Lyric nodded. "I'm not doing this to hurt him. I'm doing this so he can't pretend anymore." Seren pulled her into a hug. "Then I'm proud of you. You're not worried." "I'm terrified. But I trust you." Lyric held her mother tightly. "Thank you. For everything." The next morning, Lyric dialed into the earnings call. Her hands were steady. Her voice was calm. And when the operator called on her, she spoke the truth that had been waiting 18 years to be heard. If you've ever had to force someone to see you, drop a comment and tell me how you did it. And if this story is reminding you that some truths need an audience to survive, hit that subscribe button. The morning of the earnings call, Lyric woke at 6 a.m. She had barely slept. But her mind was clear. She sat at the kitchen table with her mother. Seren made tea. They did not talk much. There was nothing left to say. At 7:30, Seren spoke. "You don't have to do this." Lyric looked up. "I know. But you're going to anyway." "Yes." Seren nodded. "Then do it with integrity. Say what needs to be said. Nothing more." "I will." At 8:45, Lyric dialed into the call. She entered the access code. Heard the hold music. Her heart was beating fast. But her hands were steady. She had written notes. But she did not need them. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. At 9 a.m., the call began. The CFO spoke first. Reviewed the quarter. Strong revenue. Margin expansion. Strategic wins. Then Alaric spoke. His voice was smooth. Confident. Lyric listened. And felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a quiet certainty that this needed to happen. At 9:22, the operator opened the line for questions. Analysts asked about growth. About competition. About guidance. Lyric waited. Then, at 9:34, the operator said the words she had been waiting for. Our next question comes from an unaffiliated caller. Please state your name and affiliation. Lyric unmuted her line. Hello. This is not a question. It's a clarification. In the conference room, Alaric's head snapped up. Lyric continued. Her voice steady. Clear. My name is Alaric Hale. I'm 18 years old. And I'm calling to clarify something that should have been disclosed years ago. She took a breath. For the record, Alaric Vaughn is my biological father. He has provided no financial support. No presence. No acknowledgement. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for truth. Her voice did not waver. Child support is not just a legal obligation. It's a moral one. And this company's CEO has spent 18 years pretending I don't exist. She paused. That ends today. Then she hung up. The call that changed the room. In the conference room, chaos erupted immediately. The CFO froze mid-sentence. The chief counsel grabbed his phone. The head of PR looked like she might be sick. Alaric sat completely still. His face drained of color. The operator's voice returned, uncertain. We appear to have lost that caller. Mr. Vaughn, would you like to respond? Alaric opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Leo leaned forward and muted the line. We need to end this call. Now. The chief counsel nodded. Agreed. Issue a technical difficulty. Reschedule. But Alaric raised his hand. No. His voice was hoarse. We finished the call. Alaric, you can't. I said we finish. He unmuted the line. His voice was shaky but audible. I need a moment. The operator waited. Alaric took a breath. The caller. She's telling the truth. The room exploded. Alaric, stop talking. But Alaric continued. I have a daughter. Her name is Lyric. And I have failed her for 18 years. His voice broke. I don't have guidance to offer today. I don't have projections or forecasts. I have an apology I should have made a long time ago. He paused. This call is over. He stood and walked out of the room. Behind him, his team scrambled. But the damage, or perhaps the truth, had already been done. When the line goes dead. Lyric sat in her mother's living room. The phone still in her hand. Her heart pounding. Seren sat beside her. How do you feel? Lyric's voice was quiet. I don't know. Seren put her arm around her daughter. You were brave. I don't feel brave. I feel exposed. You are exposed. But you're also free. Lyric leaned into her mother. What happens now? I don't know. But whatever happens, we handle it together. An hour later, Lyric's phone started buzzing. Messages. Calls. Reporters asking for comment. She turned off her phone. Seren did the same. They sat together in silence. Waiting. The market reacts to silence. By noon, the story had broken. Every financial news outlet was covering it. Billionaire CEO acknowledges secret daughter on earnings call. Vaughn Industries stock drops 8% after shocking disclosure. Alaric Vaughn's 18-year secret exposed live. Analysts scrambled to understand the implications. Was this a legal liability? A reputational crisis? A human interest story? The stock continued to fall. Investors demanded answers. But Alaric was unreachable. He had left the office. Driven home. Sat alone in his apartment. For the first time in 18 years, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what he had done. He had abandoned his daughter. Not accidentally. Deliberately. He had chosen his company over her. His image over her. His comfort over her. And now, finally, the truth had caught up. His phone rang. His chief counsel. Alaric, we need to strategize. PR is drafting a statement. Legal is reviewing exposure. Alaric's voice was flat. No statements. What? I'm not spinning this. I'm not managing this. I'm owning it. Alaric, that's not advisable. I don't care. He hung up. Then he did something he had not done in 18 years. He searched for Seren's number. Found it in an old contact list he had never deleted. He stared at it for a long time. Then he texted. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. But I need to say it. I'm sorry. He waited. No response came. He set the phone down. Stared out the window at the city below. And wondered if some mistakes were too big to repair. The investigation begins. The next morning, Alaric's board convened an emergency meeting. He was not invited. They reviewed the situation. The public disclosure. The stock drop. The media firestorm. The board chair, a woman named Evelyn Cross, spoke first. We need to assess the damage. Legal, what's our exposure? The chief counsel pulled up a document. If the mother files for child support, the amount could be significant. 18 years of retroactive support based on his income would be substantial. How substantial? Potentially tens of millions. One of the board members, a man named Gerard, leaned forward. Can we settle this quietly? Evelyn shook her head. It's too late for quiet. This is public now. Then we need a crisis plan. PR strategy. Damage control. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Or we need accountability. What does that mean? It means Alaric takes responsibility. Publicly. Fully. No spin. That's a risk. So is pretending this didn't happen. The board debated for 3 hours. Finally, they agreed. Alaric would issue a statement. Not written by PR, written by him. He would meet with Lyric and Seren. If they agreed. And he would step back from day-to-day operations while he addressed this. When Alaric was informed of the board's decision, he agreed immediately. I'll do whatever it takes. Evelyn studied him. This isn't about the company, is it? Alaric's voice was quiet. No. It's about my daughter. The truth Alaric can no longer avoid. That night, Alaric sat at his desk and wrote a statement. Not for the press. For Lyric. He wrote and rewrote it a dozen times. Every version felt inadequate. Finally, he settled on the truth. Lyric, I heard you. I'm sorry it took 18 years. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I chose everything else over you. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know that I'm ready to listen. To show up. To be the father I should have been from the beginning. If you'll let me. He read it over. Then deleted it. Words on a screen were not enough. He needed to say it to her face. He called Seren's number. It went to voicemail. Seren, it's Alaric. I know I have no right to ask. But I'd like to meet you and Lyric. No lawyers. No press. Just a conversation. Please. He hung up. Waited. 3 hours later, Seren called back. Lyric wants to meet. But on her terms. I'll meet anywhere. Anytime. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. The park near my apartment. Just you. No entourage. I'll be there. Alaric, if you hurt her again, I will make sure you regret it. I understand. Seren hung up. Alaric sat back. Exhaled. Tomorrow, he would meet his daughter for the first time. And he had no idea what to say. Lyric after the call. Lyric spent the day after the call in a strange fog. She had done what she set out to do. But she had not expected the wait that followed. Her phone would not stop buzzing. Reporters. Classmates. People she barely knew offering support or criticism. She turned it off. Sat with her mother. Do you regret it? Lyric thought about the question. No. But I didn't expect it to feel like this. Like what? Like I just opened a door I can't close. Seren nodded. You did. But that doesn't mean you did the wrong thing. What if he doesn't change? Then you'll know. And you can move on. And if he does? Then maybe you'll get the father you deserved all along. Lyric was quiet. I'm scared, Mom. Of what? Of hoping. Seren pulled her close. Hope is scary. But it's also brave. The next day, Lyric dressed carefully. Jeans. A simple shirt. Nothing that felt like armor or performance. Just herself. Seren drove her to the park. Parked nearby. Do you want me to come with you? Lyric shook her head. I need to do this alone. I'll be right here. If you need me. Lyric nodded. Got out of the car. Walked toward the bench where a man she had never met was already waiting. The meeting without lawyers. Alaric arrived at the park 20 minutes early. He sat on the bench Seren had specified. His hands were shaking. He clasped them together to steady them. He had rehearsed what he would say. But every version sounded hollow. Insufficient. How do you apologize for 18 years of absence? At exactly 2 p.m., he saw her. A young woman walking across the grass. Dark hair like his. Seren's eyes. Seren's graceful way of moving. His daughter. Lyric approached slowly. Stopped a few feet from the bench. They looked at each other. Neither spoke. Then Lyric gestured to the bench. May I sit? Alaric's voice came out rough. Please. She sat. Left space between them. Kept her posture straight. Guarded but present. Alaric did not know where to begin. So he started with the truth. I heard you. On the call. Every word. Lyric's voice was steady. Good. You were right. About all of it. I know. Alaric exhaled slowly. I don't have an excuse. I could tell you I was overwhelmed. That I didn't know how to be a father and build a company at the same time. But the truth is simpler. I was selfish. I chose what was easier. And I hurt you. And your mother. Lyric looked at him directly. Why are you here? Because you gave me something I didn't deserve. A chance to be seen. And I don't want to waste it. What do you want from this? I want to know you. If you'll let me. Lyric's expression did not soften. You don't get to want things from me. Not yet. You're right. She studied him. Searching for performance. For calculation. She found exhaustion. And something that looked like genuine regret. Did you know my name? Before the call. Alaric's throat tightened. Yes. Your mother put it on the birth certificate. I looked once. Years ago. And then I never looked again. Why not? Because it was easier to pretend you didn't exist than to face what I'd done. Lyric's jaw tightened. I existed whether you acknowledged it or not. I know. And I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 18 years. No. It doesn't. They sat in silence. The park hummed with distant sounds. Children playing. Birds calling. Life continuing around them. Then Lyric spoke again. I didn't call into that earnings meeting to destroy you. I know. I called because it was the only way you would hear me. The only place you couldn't edit me out. Alaric nodded. It worked. Lyric's voice was quieter now. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for you to fix the past. I'm asking for you to acknowledge that I'm real. That I matter. You do matter. Then prove it. How? Show up. Consistently. Not when it's convenient. Not when it looks good. Actually show up. Alaric met her eyes. I will. Lyric stood. I'm not ready to trust you. But I'm willing to see if you're serious. That's fair. We can meet again. If you want. But on my terms. Anything. Lyric pulled a small piece of paper from her pocket. Handed it to him. That's my email. If you want to stay in touch, you can write to me. I'll respond when I'm ready. Alaric took the paper. Held it carefully. Thank you. Lyric turned to leave. Then paused. One more thing. Yes. My mother is the strongest person I know. If you ever disrespect her or treat her like she's the problem, we're done. Permanently. Understood. Lyric walked away. Did not look back. Alaric sat on the bench for a long time after she left. Staring at the piece of paper in his hands. An email address. A thread. A beginning. He did not know if he could be the father Lyric deserved. But he was going to try. For the first time in 18 years, he was going to actually try. Support without a court order. That evening, Alaric sat in his apartment. He opened his laptop. Stared at the blank email. He had written 1,000 emails. Deal memos. Investor updates. Strategic directives. This was different. He started typing. Lyric, thank you for meeting me today. I know I don't deserve your time or your consideration. But I'm grateful you gave it anyway. He paused. Deleted the last sentence. Too formal. He started again. Lyric, I don't know how to be your father. I don't know if I ever will. But I want to try. I want to show up. I want to listen. I want to be someone you can count on. He read it over. It felt insufficient. But it was honest. He added one more line. I'm here. Whenever you're ready. He hit send before he could second guess it. Then he sat back. Waiting. 3 days later, Lyric replied. I'm not ready for frequent contact. But you can check in once a week. Keep it short. No grand gestures. Just presence. Alaric read the message 5 times. Then he replied. Understood. Thank you. The next week, he sent a simple email. Hi Lyric. Just checking in. Hope you're doing well. No need to reply. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. Lyric did not respond. But she read it. The following week, he sent another. Hi Lyric. Still here. Hope school is going well. Again, no response. But again, she read it. On the fourth week, she replied. I got accepted to 3 colleges. Majoring in systems engineering. Alaric's heart swelled. That's incredible. I'm so proud of you. Lyric replied an hour later. You don't get to be proud yet. You haven't earned it. Alaric read the message. Felt the sting. But also the invitation underneath. She was still talking to him. That was something. He replied. You're right. But I'm working on it. Over the next 3 months, their emails became more frequent. Not long. Not deep. But consistent. Lyric told him about school. About her plans. About her frustrations. Alaric listened. Responded thoughtfully. Did not try to solve her problems. Just acknowledged them. Slowly, carefully, something began to shift. One day, Lyric sent an email that surprised him. I'm doing a project on supply chain logistics. Can I ask you some questions? Alaric's reply was immediate. Absolutely. I'd be honored. They exchanged emails about her project. Alaric offered insights. Lyric asked follow-up questions. It was the first time they had talked about something other than their relationship. And it felt normal. After the project was done, Lyric sent a thank you. That was helpful. You actually know what you're talking about. Alaric smiled. I've been doing this a long time. Lyric's next message surprised him again. Would you want to meet for coffee? Just to talk. About school stuff. Nothing heavy. Alaric read the message 3 times. Then replied. I would love that. Just tell me when and where. The first real conversation. They met at a small cafe near Lyric's school. Alaric arrived early. Ordered tea. Sat by the window. Lyric arrived exactly on time. She looked less guarded than she had at the park. But still careful. Hi. Alaric stood. Hi. Thanks for meeting me. She sat down. Ordered coffee. They made small talk. About the weather. About the cafe. About nothing important. Then Lyric pulled out her laptop. So I'm trying to decide between 3 programs. They're all good. But I can't figure out which one fits best. Alaric leaned forward. Tell me about them. Lyric walked him through each program. The curriculum. The professors. The research opportunities. Alaric listened. Asked questions. Offered perspective without pushing. After an hour, Lyric closed her laptop. That actually helped. I'm glad. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lyric asked a different kind of question. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you regret it? Not just the absence. But the choice. Do you regret choosing your company over us? Alaric did not hesitate. Yes. Every day. Would you do it differently now? Without question. Why? Because I've learned something I should have known at 28. Success without people to share it with is just noise. Lyric absorbed this. Do you have anyone? A partner? A family? Alaric shook his head. No. I've dated. But nothing serious. Nothing real. Why not? Because I was always working. And because. Honestly, I think part of me knew I didn't deserve it. Lyric's expression softened slightly. That's sad. It is. They sat quietly. Then Lyric spoke again. I don't hate you. I want you to know that. Alaric's eyes filled. Thank you. But I also don't trust you. Not yet. I understand. Trust is earned. Over time. With consistency. I know. So if you're serious about this, you have to keep showing up. Even when it's hard. Even when I'm difficult. I will. Lyric stood. Okay. Same time next week. Alaric nodded, not trusting his voice. Same time next week. She left. Alaric sat alone at the table. And for the first time in 18 years, he felt something close to hope. If you've ever had to rebuild trust one small moment at a time, drop a comment and tell me what kept you going. And if this story is reminding you that consistency is the only language that repair understands, share it with someone who needs to hear that patience is not weakness. It's strength. When accountability became action. Over the next 6 months, Alaric and Lyric met every week. Sometimes for coffee. Sometimes for lunch. Once, Lyric invited him to a lecture she was giving at her school. He sat in the back. Listened to her speak about sustainable logistics systems. Watched her command the room with confidence and clarity. He was in awe. After the lecture, she found him. What did you think? You were incredible. Lyric smiled. A real smile. Thanks. That night, Alaric called Seren for the first time. She answered on the third ring. Alaric. Hi, Seren. I wanted to thank you. For what? For raising an extraordinary human being. Lyric is. She's everything I'm not. And that's because of you. Seren was quiet for a moment. She's extraordinary because she chose to be. Not because of me. Not because of you. Because of her. You're right. But you gave her the foundation. Seren's voice softened slightly. How are the meetings going? Good. I think. She's still cautious. But she's letting me in. Keep showing up, Alaric. That's all you can do. I will. There was a pause. Then Seren spoke again. I'm glad you're trying. For her sake. Thank you. And Seren. I'm sorry. For everything. I know. She hung up. Alaric sat with the phone in his hand. He had said the words. But he knew sorry was not enough. Action was. The next week, he made a decision. He called his chief counsel. I want to establish a trust fund for Lyric. Education. Housing. Whatever she needs. Fully funded. Alaric, you don't have to do this without a court order. I know. But I want to. And I want it done quietly. No press. No announcement. Just. Taken care of. Understood. And one more thing. Yes. I want to establish a scholarship fund. For single parents pursuing higher education. In Seren's name. The chief counsel was silent. That's very generous. It's not generous. It's overdue. The trust was established within 2 weeks. The scholarship fund launched a month later. Alaric did not tell Lyric or Seren about either one. He would let them find out on their own terms. Because this was not about credit. It was about responsibility. The conversation that changed everything. 8 months after the earnings call, Lyric invited Alaric to dinner at her apartment. He arrived with flowers. She opened the door. You didn't have to bring those. I wanted to. Seren was in the kitchen. She looked up when Alaric entered. Alaric. Seren. It was the first time they had been in the same room in 18 years. The air was thick with history. Lyric gestured to the table. Sit. Dinner's almost ready. They sat. Ate. Made polite conversation. After dinner, Lyric stood. I'm going to clean up. You two should talk. She left the room before either could protest. Alaric and Seren sat across from each other. Finally, Seren spoke. You've been showing up. I'm trying. She notices. Good. Seren studied him. What do you want, Alaric? I want to be her father. If she'll let me. And what about us? Alaric met her eyes. I don't expect anything from you, Seren. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a second chance. I want you to know that I see what I lost. And I'm sorry. Seren's voice was quiet. I'm not the same person I was 18 years ago. Neither am I. I don't trust easily anymore. I don't blame you. And I'm not interested in being someone's redemption arc. Alaric nodded. That's fair. But I do think people can change. If they're willing to do the work. I'm willing. Seren took a breath. Then prove it. Not to me. To her. I will. Lyric returned. Sat down between them. So. Are we good? Seren smiled. We're getting there. Alaric nodded. Yeah. We are. Lyric looked at both of them. Good. Because I'm tired of managing this tension. You're both adults. Figure it out. Seren laughed. When did you get so bossy? I learned from the best. After Alaric left, Seren and Lyric sat together. What do you think? Lyric considered. I think he's trying. Really trying. Do you trust him? Not completely. But. More than I did. Seren nodded. That's fair. Do you? Seren thought about it. I think I trust his intentions. Whether he can sustain them. We'll see. Lyric leaned against her mother. Thank you. For what? For letting me make my own choices. For not making him the villain. He made his own choices, Lyric. I just didn't let them define ours. I know. And I'm grateful. When the company learned from silence. At Vaughn Industries, the culture began to shift. It started subtly. Alaric attended fewer late meetings. Declined weekend work. Set boundaries he had never set before. His executive team noticed. Leo approached him one day. You've changed. Alaric looked up from his desk. Have I? You're softer. More present. Is that a problem? No. Just different. Alaric leaned back. I spent 18 years optimizing for growth. I'm trying to optimize for something else now. What? Meaning. Leo nodded slowly. How's it going? With your daughter? Alaric smiled. Better than I deserve. A few weeks later, Alaric announced a new company policy. Expanded parental leave. For all parents. Not just mothers. 12 weeks. Fully paid. The board questioned it. This is expensive. Alaric's response was simple. We can afford it. And our people deserve it. What's driving this? The realization that I built a company that didn't value the things that actually matter. The policy passed. Employees responded overwhelmingly. Morale improved. Retention increased. Productivity stayed strong. And quietly, Alaric's reputation began to rebuild. Not through PR campaigns. Through actual change. One afternoon, a young employee named Tessa stopped by his office. "Mr. Vaughn, can I talk to you?" "Of course." She sat down. "I just wanted to thank you for the parental leave policy. My partner and I just had a baby. And being able to take time off without worrying about money. It's changed everything." Alaric smiled. "I'm glad. Can I ask what changed your mind?" "A year ago, this company was all about efficiency. Now it feels human." Alaric thought about how to answer. "I learned that efficiency without humanity is just extraction. And I don't want to build that anymore." Tessa nodded. "Well. Thank you." After she left, Alaric sat quietly. He thought about the earnings call. About Lyric's voice cutting through his carefully constructed narrative. She had not destroyed him. She had freed him. From the lie he had been living. From the performance he had been sustaining. And in doing so, she had given him the chance to build something real. The question Lyric finally asked. 1 year after the earnings call, Lyric and Alaric were having coffee. Their weekly ritual. Lyric set down her cup. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Do you ever resent me?" "For what happened?" Alaric frowned. "What do you mean?" "The earnings call. The media storm. The stock drop. Do you ever wish I hadn't done it?" Alaric's answer was immediate. "No. Never." "Really?" "Lyric, you gave me something I didn't know I needed. You gave me accountability. And you gave me the chance to know you. But it cost you. It cost me a narrative I was clinging to. But I gained something far more valuable." "What?" "The truth. And a relationship with my daughter." Lyric's eyes filled slightly. "I was so scared. That day. That I was making a mistake. That I would regret it." "Do you?" "No. But I didn't know if you would show up. If you would actually change. And now." Lyric smiled. "Now I think you're trying. And that's enough. Just enough. For now." Alaric laughed. "I'll take it." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Lyric spoke again. "I'm graduating in May." Alaric's heart lifted. "That's amazing. I want you to come. To the ceremony." Alaric's voice was thick. "I'd be honored." "Mom's coming too." "Obviously." "Of course. And I'm going to introduce you. As my dad." Alaric could not speak. He just nodded. Lyric reached across the table. Took his hand. "You earned it." Alaric held her hand. Tears streaming down his face. "Thank you." May arrived. The day of Lyric's graduation was bright and clear. Alaric sat in the audience beside Seren. It was strange. Surreal. The two of them together after all these years. But it was also right. When Lyric's name was called, they both stood. Cheered. Seren cried. Alaric tried not to. After the ceremony, Lyric found them. She hugged her mother first. Long and tight. Then she turned to Alaric. He opened his arms. She stepped into them. "I'm proud of you." Lyric pulled back. Smiled. "I'm proud of you too." That evening, they had dinner together. The three of them. Lyric raised her glass. To new beginnings. Seren and Alaric raised theirs. To new beginnings. They talked. Laughed. Shared stories. It was not perfect. There were still moments of tension. Of old wounds surfacing. But there was also grace. And forgiveness. And the quiet understanding that some things take time. After dinner, Alaric walked them to their car. Seren turned to him. "Thank you. For showing up. For doing the work. Thank you. For giving me the chance." She nodded. Got in the car. Lyric hugged him one more time. "See you next week. See you next week." He watched them drive away. Then he stood alone in the parking lot, looking up at the stars. He had spent years building an empire. But this felt like the first thing he had built that actually mattered. 2 years after the call. 2 years after Lyric called into the earnings meeting, she started her first job. At a logistics company. Not Vaughn Industries. She wanted to build her own reputation. Alaric respected that. They still met weekly. Sometimes for coffee. Sometimes for dinner. Sometimes just for a walk. One day, Lyric asked him a question. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't called?" Alaric thought about it. "I think I would have kept building. Kept performing. Kept lying to myself that I was successful. And now? Now I know that success without integrity is just an expensive delusion." Lyric nodded. "I'm glad I called." "Me too." They walked in silence for a moment. Then Lyric spoke again. "I have something to tell you." "Okay." "I've been seeing someone. It's serious." Alaric's heart swelled. "That's wonderful. I want you to meet him. Both of you. You and Mom. I'd love that." Lyric smiled. "Good. Because he's nervous. He knows who you are. Tell him I'm just a dad trying to figure it out." Lyric laughed. "I'll tell him that." A month later, they had dinner. Alaric, Seren, Lyric, and her partner, a kind, thoughtful man named David. It was awkward at first. But slowly, the conversation flowed. David asked Alaric about his work. Alaric asked David about his. Seren and Lyric exchanged amused glances. After dinner, David pulled Alaric aside. "I just want you to know. I love your daughter. And I'll take care of her." Alaric's voice was gentle. "I know you will. And thank you. For making her happy." David nodded. Relieved. Later, Alaric and Seren stood outside together. "He seems good." Seren agreed. "He is." "She did well." "She did." They stood in comfortable silence. Then Seren spoke. "We did okay. Didn't we?" Alaric looked at her. "You did more than okay. You did everything. We did it together. Eventually." Alaric nodded. "Yeah. Eventually. When guidance finally came." 3 years after the earnings call, Alaric stood before the company for the quarterly update. But this time, it was different. He did not start with revenue. Or projections. Or strategic wins. He started with something else. 3 years ago, I stood in a room much like this one and had my carefully managed narrative interrupted by the truth. The room was silent. My daughter called into an earnings call and told the world what I had spent 18 years hiding. That I was a father who had abandoned his child. He paused. That moment could have destroyed me. My reputation. My career. My company. Instead, it saved me. He looked around the room. Because it forced me to confront something I had been avoiding. That success without integrity is hollow. That wealth without responsibility is meaningless. And that no amount of growth can compensate for the people you fail along the way. Applause started. Alaric raised his hand. "I'm not telling you this for applause. I'm telling you this because this company is built on people. And people deserve leaders who show up. Not just for shareholders. But for their families. For their communities. For the things that actually matter. He took a breath. 3 years ago, my daughter gave me a gift I didn't deserve. Accountability. And I'm grateful every day that she did. More applause. Louder now. Alaric smiled. Now. Let's talk about revenue. Laughter rippled through the room. After the call, Alaric received a text from Lyric. I listened. You did good, Dad. Alaric read the message. His eyes filled. He typed back. Thank you. For everything. Lyric replied. Love you. Alaric stared at the words. The first time she had ever said them. He typed back, his hands shaking. I love you too. The foundation built on truth. For years after the earnings call, Lyric got engaged. She called Alaric to tell him. He answered on the first ring. Dad, I have news. Tell me. David proposed. I said yes. Alaric's voice was thick. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you. Thank you. Have you set a date? Not yet. But. I want you to walk me down the aisle. If you want to. Alaric could not speak. He just cried. Lyric's voice was gentle. Dad? You there? I'm here. And yes. I would be honored. Good. Because Mom's officiating. Alaric laughed through his tears. That's perfect. The wedding was small. Intimate. Held in a garden under string lights. Alaric stood at the back with Lyric. She was radiant. You ready? She nodded. I'm ready. They walked down the aisle together. Alaric's hand on her arm. When they reached the front, Seren stood waiting. She smiled at both of them. Alaric placed Lyric's hand in David's. Then stepped back. As he sat down, he felt something he had not felt in years. Peace. Not because he had earned forgiveness. But because he had earned presence. And that was enough. After the ceremony, Lyric found him. Thank you. For being here. For being my dad. Alaric hugged her tightly. Thank you. For letting me. 5 years after Lyric called into the earnings meeting, Alaric stepped down as CEO. He remained on the board. But he handed daily operations to someone younger. Someone hungry. He wanted time. For Lyric. For Seren. For the family they had slowly, carefully built. On his last earnings call as CEO, he gave his final guidance. When I started this company, I thought success was measured in growth. In market cap. In quarterly beats. He paused. I was wrong. Success is measured in the people you show up for. The promises you keep. The truth you tell even when it costs you. He looked at the camera. 5 years ago, my daughter taught me that. And I've spent every day since trying to live it. He smiled. Thank you. For the privilege of leading this company. And thank you, Lyric, for teaching me what leadership actually means. The call ended. Alaric closed his laptop. Picked up his phone. Texted Lyric. It's done. I'm free. She replied immediately. Good. Come over. We're having dinner. He drove to her house. The home she and David had just bought. When he arrived, Seren was already there. Helping in the kitchen. Alaric walked in. Lyric hugged him. Welcome to retirement. He laughed. It feels strange. You'll get used to it. They had dinner. talked, laughed, shared stories. After dinner, Lyric stood. "I have an announcement." Everyone looked up. She took David's hand. "We're having a baby." Seren gasped. Stood. Hugged her daughter tightly. Alaric sat frozen. Then stood slowly. Lyric turned to him. "You're going to be a grandfather." Alaric's eyes filled. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just show up." Alaric pulled her into a hug. "I will. I promise." Lyric held him. "I know, Dad. I know." 6 months later, Alaric sat in a hospital waiting room. Seren beside him. They had been there for hours. Waiting. Finally, David emerged. "It's a girl." Alaric and Seren stood. "Can we see her?" David nodded. "Come on." They walked into the room. Lyric was in bed, holding a tiny baby wrapped in pink. She looked up. Smiled. "Meet your granddaughter." Alaric approached slowly. Looked down at the baby. She was perfect. "What's her name?" Lyric glanced at Seren. Then at Alaric. "Seren Grace." Seren's eyes filled. She covered her mouth. Lyric looked at Alaric. "We almost named her Alarica. But Mom threatened to disown us." Everyone laughed. Alaric reached out. Touched the baby's tiny hand. "She's beautiful. You want to hold her?" Alaric's voice was shaky. "Can I?" Lyric handed him the baby. Alaric held his granddaughter carefully. Looked down at her tiny face. And he thought about the journey that brought him here. A phone call. A daughter's voice. A truth he could no longer avoid. He had lost 18 years. But he had gained something more valuable. A second chance. A family. A life built on honesty instead of performance. Seren stood beside him. Looked at the baby. Then at Alaric. "You did good. We did good." She smiled. "Yeah. We did." Alaric held his granddaughter. Surrounded by the family he almost lost. And he finally understood what guidance really meant. Not projections. Not forecasts. Not strategic plans. But showing up. Being present. Choosing people over performance. That was the only guidance that mattered. And it had taken him 18 years to learn it. But he had learned it. And he would spend the rest of his life living it. Some truths arrive quietly. Others arrive on a conference line with hundreds listening. But all truth has the same power. It interrupts. It exposes. It demands response. Lyric Hale did not need a courtroom to hold her father accountable. She needed 60 seconds. And a microphone he could not mute. Alaric Vaughn learned that the narratives we control are often the ones that destroy us. That silence is not the same as peace. And that the most important guidance he would ever give was not to investors. It was to his daughter. In small moments. In weekly coffee meetings. In showing up even when he did not know what to say. Seren Hale learned that forgiveness is not forgetting. It is watching someone do the work. Consistently. Humbly. Without applause. And deciding that growth is real. And Lyric learned that some confrontations do not need anger. They need timing. Clarity. And the courage to exist loudly in a space designed to silence you. If this story reminded you that accountability cannot be scheduled, share it. Tag someone who chose truth over comfort. Someone who spoke up when silence would have been easier. And subscribe to Mr. Ellington Love Lines, where every story proves that the most powerful words are often the ones we are most afraid to say. Now go. Speak your truth. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. And remember that some of the most important things you will ever say will be said in places that were never designed to hear you. Say them anyway. Because silence may be safe. But truth is what sets us free.